Welcome. You made it all the way to our summary of solving a quadratic by applying the square root method. So what I want to do for this is just kind of go over a couple quick, tips and tricks that I see to help, my students along, as well as some common mistakes that I've seen with my own students, and I think that, you might benefit from as well as you're moving on to maybe a test or onto the next level with this course. So, some common mistakes that we really see is the main important thing with the common mistakes is making sure you understand the inverse of squaring. And I've seen everything from saying, squaring, oh, well, let's just divide by 2 or, do something crazy funky. Remember, the inverse of taking the square of a number is going to be the square root. And then on top of that, the largest mistake that I see with that is when you introduce the square root, make sure you include the positive and the negative of that solution. And that's something I've talked about throughout this whole course, and it's so important, especially once we start talking about polynomials and the zeros and everything else. I mean, that changes your whole problem. So you have to make sure you include the positive and the negative. Really looking into on some tips and tricks with the square root method, there's a lot of different ways to solve these. Sometimes you can factor them out, factor things out and then divide out on both sides. I wouldn't really say it's always the necessary, the easiest route to go through, but really just some tips and tricks. I would just probably say factoring out GCFs first. And really just the one thing you do is just apply your inverse operations, which we call the reverse order of operations. And that actually goes to another common mistake is using the reverse order of operations. And what I mean by that is, you guys know like PEMDAS or, other ways to memorize it. But, when you're simplifying an expression, we go parentheses, exponents or powers, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, not in any order. But when we're using our reverse order of operations, well, that means we're solving an equation. We want to undo that, right? We want to go the opposite. So we always want to undo addition and subtraction first. Then we want to undo multiplication and division. Then we want to undo the powers, right, which would be our squaring function. And then we undo the parentheses and so forth. So that is just a quick little summary. A couple common mistakes, not really the best tips and tricks I have for this one, but really you just want to isolate. I guess the other thing is I'd make sure I tell you is isolate your variable. All right? And that's some of the things that you should at least take out of this course as far as in the process mentality for solving a quadratic by the square root method. Thanks.